Going, buddy.
All good.
Chilling.
I've seen you've been waking up early over there, like 4 a.m. every day. So you must be knackered, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's been tough. We try to get on a sleep schedule to get up to be ready to
Yeah. So
get
is that
breakfast
around
done,
about
all
what
that stuff.
time the main card starts over there? 4 a.m.
It's 6 a.m. I think is the main card. It ends at 8, so it's a 2-hour main card. So
Right.
we've been trying to get up we've really been getting up like 2 or 3, kind of stirring a little bit and then walk around. I got up at 12:30 a couple nights ago, but the Calvin's. It's really more important for Calvin to be on the right schedule. He's been going to bed at like 7 or 8 every night
Hmm.
and sleep until 3, so that'll be good. I think it's a good plan. And then obviously on fight day you have the jitters, so you'll be up a little early and you'll be ready to go.
So in terms of how this camp has been for you, obviously you and Dan Ige's camp have had the luxury of doing this before during this lockdown process. So I guess both your sides are well adjusted to how this has been this time around.
Yeah, I mean, it was business as usual for us. We went into the Stevens camp in January. I think we were fighting in March,
Yeah.
and then it got pushed to April right away. So then we were just training for that, and then the pandemic hit. We trained, regularly through the pandemic. We have a small team, where we leverage a lot of other gyms to cross train. But our core group, it's a handful of people, and then we bring in, I bring in specific sparring partners for each camp, and then different coaches for every camp, and we kind of, just putting pieces where they go. And, we've been fortunate enough that we have some great coaches that are coming to us a lot more now and getting the job done that way. So this camp's been the same. It's a lot of people come to us, me letting Calvin, sleep in every day rather than trying to get on the road and fight traffic. So it's been, we've been really blessed in that sense. Obviously, we don't wish the pandemic on anyone, but I think it's really been a blessing for us in terms of being able to get better work in without having to drive a lot.
What's it like being on the second card of Fight Island, having seen all the pre-fight preparations for 251 at the weekend and seeing the buzz around that? It must have been really surreal to be amongst so many different fight cards and fighters on a foreign island in a foreign country. It must be so strange.
Yeah, it's cool seeing, all the people in the hotel. But the first 2 days we were here is, we were in the room and all you could see was, this behind me, you see this view from the balcony. That's it for the first 2 days. And then you go down to the lobby and you're social distancing and stuff. And so, you didn't interact with the other groups and you have minimal contact with the UFC. So it's weird in that sense. But I think, the bigger advantage is that we got to see the process of how it works on the first card. Just, we went to Jacksonville. We were on 249. We were the first card. And then there was another show on Wednesday. They got to see how we did it. And, that probably helped them. Now we get to kind of be second, this time and see how the process goes. And I'm sure the UFC will dial things in, and any things that didn't go great Saturday, they'll do better Wednesday or really Thursday morning. But so it's, I think it's good. And at the end of the day, Calvin, he's so dialed in. He's so mentally strong that, when you get in that cage, we always say, it's like, okay, we're going to go somewhere. The cage is going to have 8 sides. It's going to be 3 or 5 rounds. And this time it happens to be 5. So all the other stuff is extracurricular. It's, it's talking points for us and it's things to consider. But at the end of the day, Calvin's so mentally strong that it doesn't matter. All that's just white noise. We focus on what we can control. And the only thing we can't control is being ready for, Wednesday night in the States, which is Thursday morning here, and being ready to go 5 rounds against Dan Ige.
So what have you made of Dan Ige's career so far? Obviously, the last fight against Barboza, a lot of people thought Barboza won that fight. I don't know what you thought about that, but what did you make of that fight and specifically what he brings to the table for this fight as well?
Yeah, man. I mean, you can't. It's no shame on Ige. Like, I thought he lost that fight. I thought he lost the Bektic fight. So he's won 2 split decisions in a row. But he was in those fights, so it's not up to him what the judges do. So he's a tough kid. He's kind of almost like a blue collar approach where he's gonna come to work, he's gonna get in your face, and he's gonna bring you a fight. There's not gonna be an easy fight when you go against Dan Ige because he's gonna come forward. He's gonna take the best you have, and if it doesn't put him away, he's not gonna be intimidated. And that's something that he's got a lot of heart, but that only climbs you so far on the ladder. Calvin's number 6. I think he should be number 5. Over our year, but Calvin's a top 5 guy for a reason, and Dan Ige hasn't fought anybody with him. He seems to struggle with guys that have good takedown defense and have a little bit of power. He's been dropped quite a bit in his career, little, dings here and there, and you don't recover from those. When Calvin drops you, you're getting put away, even if you're not out. He's got, some of the best ground and pound when he sees someone hurt. he jumps on, he finishes the fight. And, I think he's kind of climbed as far as he'll be able to climb, reaching the top 10. I think, heart only gets you so far. And he's a talented kid, comes from a good camp, seems like a super nice kid, but, he signed the wrong contract. Like, Calvin's just a different animal, Barboza's a beast in his own right, but that's not the, kind of a tailor-made matchup, a pressure fighter against Barboza. You pressure Calvin, see how that works. He always figures out and he makes that adjustment. And then once he puts his fists or his elbows on your face, those guys go to sleep. So, it's more about us than it is about him, though.
So it is a quick turnaround for both fighters in this one. Specifically for Calvin, is this what you want for your fighters? Is this the best version of your fighters when they're fighting consecutively? I mean, it's only 2 months ago, isn't it, since the Jeremy Stephens fight, and what a brutal knockout that was. I think everyone talks about how great Calvin's boxing is, but that stepping elbow was brilliant. It really was.
Yeah, a year ago, I was out in Sacramento for another fighter, and I brought Calvin with me. And the Muay Thai coach for that fighter, I pulled him aside. His name's Jake Manini. He's here cornering this week. And I said, listen, Calvin's got great boxing. He's a great wrestler. He can good jiu-jitsu, but he's missing those Muay Thai triggers. Like, he's not, he knows how to throw an elbow, it's not built in for him to do it reactionary. I was like, can you work with them? And then they worked together that day. And then over those last 9 months of them working together, you see that come out in the fight. And I always say this in interviews is that, we really just scratched the surface with Calvin. He's still really green in a lot of areas, which is scary, for our opponents. But the fact is, he started working with a Muay Thai coach, and 9 months later, he knocks out Jeremy Stephens with an elbow in the biggest fight of his career. It just shows how far he's come and how effective the coach Jake Manini is. So I think, we just keep adding tools to his arsenal, and it showed that time. He's more than a boxer. People are starting to realize that. And I think another thing that people don't realize about Calvin is that he's, I guess Dan Ige keeps saying there's going to be a battle of wills and who's tougher and who can quit. Like, Calvin will never quit. Calvin's one of the toughest guys I've ever been around. He's mentally strong, and he wants this more than anything. Like, you're not going to beat Calvin in a battle of wills. You're going to have to put him to sleep or, hopefully, I don't know, cheat.
Does the fact that you've competed yourself, because we're 2 days from fight day right now, so it is really pivotal during the weight cut process. The fact that you've been there and done that yourself, does that make a stronger bond between yourself and the fighters that you've been through that process?
I think so, because when the fighters get to this point, we're 2 days out, a couple days from the fight, we're going to cut weight tomorrow. I think that's when they start to kind of get a little, more dialed in, or maybe a little bit more irritable just with the weight cut and, the stress of the fight. And I think some coaches that haven't competed, they never really kind of understand that you have to kind of shift gears, walk on eggshells a little bit, and careful how you say things, because the littlest thing could set the fighter off. So I think having competed so much gives you the advantage to kind of understand the mental side of it, knowing when to say nothing, and then also knowing when to encourage and when to back off, when to tell the other coaches to leave the room, just kind of managing the vibe of the room. I think it gives a huge advantage there, because I've been around some great coaches that have never fought, and they can make those mistakes, and then you try to explain it to them and they don't understand why it's a mistake. And they're like, oh, he's just being sensitive. And so I definitely think it gives you an advantage when you have competed before. Plus, when I look at him and, if he's tired in between a fight, in between a round, and I had to yell at him, it's not just some guy who's never done it before yelling at him. It's like, listen, I am looking at you. I understand what you're feeling right now. I've been through this. And I know, and then being close with the fighter, like, I know you can do more, So I think it's definitely, it's got some pros there.
So when did you first meet Calvin, and when did this relationship between you guys as fighter and coach first start?
Yes, he was always, a top prospect on the local region up in New England. And, we knew who he was. And then in 2010, Kevin James did a movie, Here Comes the Boom. And so they hired a bunch of the local fighters to be extras in the final fight scene. So we just sat in the stands and cheered on. And he was on the set. So I met him there, and, super nice kid. And, I respected him as, as an athlete. And at the time, Rob Font was a 45er locally too. So then they were like number 1 and 2, and they were kind of like edging to fight each other. And I never let it happen. And I told Rob, I'm like, listen, like, you don't need this fight. Like, you should be training with Calvin. Like, you guys should be training together to help each other to get to the UFC, not knocking one of you, you knock him out or he knocks you out, and then one gets there and one doesn't. And so then fast forward a few years later, Calvin had taken some time off, and then he called me and he said, hey, I'm looking to get back into it. And so we put together a plan. I was like, well, here's the plan. This is how I think we can do it. And part of it was come train with us, let me manage you. And then I didn't know I'd eventually be his coach too. I thought it'd really be more I'd be his manager and then helping him out. And then he came into the fold with Rob Font, and now I coach both those guys. I also manage them, and they're each other's number one training partner. So it's been 10 years in the making. So
yeah, a long time coming. Very cool to see the journey land on the big stage for both of those guys, Rob and Calvin. You mentioned there that you initially just wanted to be the manager and that you balance both of those roles, manager and coach. How seamless is it balancing those roles, and was it initially difficult to adjust to that?
Well, it was like I was always Rob's coach, and I was helping run the fight practices at another gym, former team that we were at, and then I was his manager. I was managing all the other guys on the team, and I would run the fight practices and corner all the guys. And so I kind of just took on the label as manager, but I was also coaching. And then when we left that gym, it became official that I was coaching Rob and Calvin. I was running their camps and, figuring out how to run a camp, with different gyms and all that. And it wasn't hard to balance that with those guys. It was, I was always their manager, and then I became their coach. And then now with the other guys, I would say I coach Rob and Calvin, and then I help coach a lot of other guys, but I manage a ton, and then that's kind of how I explain it. But balancing it out, it's not hard. I really feel like if I let loose on the reins on the management side and let someone else take over, I really don't think they could guide the career the same as I could, based on how intimate I know them on the mats and personally, and kind of what's a good matchup, what's a bad matchup. When I just think all the decisions are kind of coming from the gut, and to relinquish that to someone else who's really kind of in it for their money, and that doesn't really have that personal relationship, hands-on relationship with them, I think would be a step backwards for us.
So when you look at Calvin's record in the UFC so far, I mean, he just fought killers from the get-go, whether they've been world champions in other promotions or up-and-coming prospects like himself, or complete enigmas that everyone wants to avoid like Zabit, which he did very, very well in that fight as well. I'm sure you've heard of that a bunch of times now from everyone since that fight. Is that something that you pride yourself on? Because 145 is the most talent-stacked division in the UFC, I'd say, along with bantamweight.
Yeah. No, I think it's you got to know what, I would say we're playing poker right now, and you got to know what your hand is. If I didn't have pocket aces, we couldn't be this aggressive with the matchmaking. You're not going to go to Zabit and go to Russia and fight as Zabit if you're like a 3-9 unsuited, Yeah. So, using it as the analogy, it's like with guys like Calvin and Rob, I really feel like I'm sitting here with pocket aces. There really isn't a bad matchup. They're both fine with traveling, and they're not intimidated by big names. So when you're dealing with guys like that, it's fun. I'm going in there with a freaking sledgehammer or a sword, and we're having a knife fight. It's kind of how we feel. But other fighters, it's not the same. You might have a guy who's a really good kickboxer, but he's bad at wrestling defense, and you're going to be a little bit more careful so you can say yes when it makes sense and try to shy away from certain matchups. So with these guys, though, yeah, Calvin's had a very aggressive up. You look at the guys he's fought, Andre Philly on 9 days' notice, and he pretty much walks through them, and he hadn't been in the gym for a month before that. So it just shows how good he is, and I think since he's been signed to the UFC, no one in the 145 division has more knockouts than he does, and we're just looking to build on that come Thursday morning.
So when you look at his position in the division, obviously you mentioned number 6, but you believe he should be number 5 above Yair. Yair is actually supposedly scheduled to fight Zabit in September. So when you're looking around guys around you, who would you say would be next? Because a title shot, how far away do you think you are from a title shot, you guys?
A lot of that, depends on the UFC and how they interpret things, because who would have said that Jose Aldo was going to fight for a title after he lost? A lot of that's out of our control, but all we can control is winning. We got Dan Ige in front of us in a couple of days. I think if we go out there and put a statement, the guy has a 6-fight win streak. He's tough. He's the up-and-coming prospect right now.
Yeah.
We have to put that win streak to an end. If we go out there and get a big finish, I think, it's not out of the realm to ask to fight Alex, and that's up to the UFC. And then worst case, I think we're in a contender fight. All these other guys, supposedly Ortega versus Korean Zombie, Yair and Zabit fighting. So, those guys are kind of all in elimination fights too. But a big performance, like, why can't we jump the line and fight someone like Max for a contender fight? There's a lot of options that the UFC could make. But, I mean, I don't even see that Zabit fight happening with Yair. He's already dodged him once and then came back, got a fight, then pulled out with injury. He doesn't want the fight. I think we should be ranked over him anyway. We're sitting at 6. He's number 5. You look at what he did to Jeremy Stephens and look what we did. I think that warrants us to be number 5 right now. But so in my eyes, we're number 5 going against the number 10. We get a big knockout. The sky's the limit. I think we're looking at, worst case, one more fight than a title shot.
So would you guys say that one more fight this year, regardless of whether, who it is against, would you just take one more and then just wait for a title shot there? Or would you still compete?
The goal, we're not waiters. There's a lot of people that sit around and wait, and that's where you end up like these guys like Zabit and Ortega and Zombie. And I know the pandemic played into this, but once you get to that top 5, a lot of guys like to sit around and kind of wait. And we always say this. We're not professional waiters; we're professional fighters. So we get paid to fight, and we're always gonna go all in on ourselves and grab the bull by the horn and control our own destiny. So it's people talk shit about us taking the Ige fight. Like, why would you fight the number 11 guy? Now he's 10, but why would you fight the number 11 guy? You could have sat around and waited. It's like, well, no, like, we don't control that. Sitting around and waiting, that's out of our control. Now we're sitting around trying to get ready for something that we don't even know what's going to happen. No, let's take the fight with Ige in a month. And let's go smash him and then call our next shot and just keep being ready. And at the beginning of the year, the goal was 3-0 for 2020, and it got to a late start with everything getting pushed back. But now, realistically, we go and get this, we'll be 2-0, and then one more fight for the end of the year, it gets us to 3-0, and we're crushing goals.
So you mentioned Max Holloway, Alex Volkanovski there. What did you make of that fight? Because, again, another controversial decision by thoughts of many, really, for that one.
Yeah, I think it was a close fight. And when we watched it live, we thought Max definitely won. And then when you look at the numbers, which are always misleading, it made it look like it was a lot closer, or that, it wasn't really BS or whatever. You can't argue with it either way. It was a close fight. I don't think he got robbed, but I thought Max won the fight. But, yeah, man, he dropped him twice, the first round and the second round. He was really, really good control. And I don't know if he took his foot off the gas pedal or if he just kind of thought he was definitely up 3-0 and then kind of went into cruise control to see what he could do. But I don't know. It just looked like he took his foot off the gas a little bit towards the end of the fight, and Alex was able to make some adjustments and capitalize. So it's tough, man. He's going to fly all the way back to Hawaii feeling like that, and it's not a good feeling.
Is it encouraging for you guys to see the champion take adversity like that? You guys can see that he can get dropped by Max Holloway, and Calvin's power is crazy. Arguably, you probably would say that he's definitely more of a puncher than Max is, isn't he? Max is more consistent damage over time that adds up. So I guess that is encouraging to see Alex get dropped like that and to have seen Max take damage in his career as well.
Yeah, I think you can draw a lot of similarities between Calvin and Max's style. They're both big 45ers. We got a little bit of a reach advantage on Max, believe it or not. And then to see him, he's more of a volume puncher, but he was able to drop him twice. One of them was a kick, I believe. But he was able to drop him twice. If those same punches are Calvin, he's probably not getting up. So, that's encouraging. And, yeah, I think it just showed some chinks in his armor finally.
And I've seen that you guys have been hanging out with Molly McCann. Is she being accepted as one of New England's own every time you guys hang out? How did that relationship come about?
So we met Molly last summer in Greenville when Rob was supposed to fight John Lineker, and then the fight didn't happen. So we kind of cut weight with them and, spent some time with her and the coaches, and they're just a real cool group. And, everybody loves Molly. She's probably like one of the nicest fighters I've ever met. So we became fans of hers right away. And, so we joked around, and that was right when we came up with the New England Cartel. It was like a week before that we came up with the name. So I told Molly she's the Old England Cartel. We're the New England Cartel. So
yeah, I mean, it would be awesome to see you guys come and fight on a card in England one day, whether it's Liverpool, Manchester, London. It'd be definitely cool.
Yeah, we love it. We went there. Rob was supposed to fight Ian Entwistle a few years ago, and then the fight didn't happen right before weigh-ins. Ian got sick. So we didn't fight. That was in Manchester. And we've always said we would definitely go back and fight in like London or whatever, and then do a fight night out there. It would be really cool.
Awesome. Right, just wrapping up now, because I know you've got that production meeting that you mentioned. If you had to call it, I know this is a difficult position to put it in, but how would you say the fight goes specifically? Do you like to call it in terms of specific rounds or a strike that would end it?
I mean, I think second round TKO, I wouldn't be surprised, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it went like Fishgold or Lamas, you know, a lot of those guys that are, you know, coming out trying to pressure us. It doesn't always go well for them. And those are tough guys. You know, Fishgold, he's a freaking tough kid. And Lamas, obviously, he's a legend. And I feel like it's very similar to that. You know, but he's not even as skilled as those guys. He's just tough. So I feel like either we're going to put him away real fast, or it's like, all right, Calvin's going to download a little bit, figure things out. And then once he connects and the end deals with a lot of adversity in a lot of his fights, but he's not doing it against guys like Calvin. So the opening's going to be there. Calvin's going to find it. I would not be surprised if it's either a quick finish or at least a second round TKO.
Awesome. And just finally, just from, you know, the fight fan within you, your perspective, what would you say, other than this card, is a fight that you're really looking forward to with the rest of the Fight Island cards?
Man, Benavidez, I want to see him get that belt. Like, he's like an OG of the sport. He's one of the nicest guys. His wife's involved as one of the broadcast team. He's just super nice. Like, it's like you meet him once and he says hi to you a year later, like he's your friend. And it's just be nice to see him get the belt. You know, like kind of lost that last fight. The guy missed weight. It was a little bit of a headbutt. So I'm glad he's getting the rematch right away. It would just be awesome to see him finally get that.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to let you carry on with your day because I know you're super busy, but I really appreciate this time on such short notice. Thank you. Thank you.
No problem, man.
Awesome.
Tell everybody in the UK to follow the New England Cartel.
Will do, man. 100%. All the best to you, buddy. Thank you very much.
Thanks, buddy.
See you in a bit.
All right.